right, hello everybody. Welcome to episode 18 of Positive Reinforcement. Guys, I have an agenda today, so at least there's going to be a little bit more structure this time, unlike last time. For some reason, though, the last episode got more attention than the last two before that, which actually had meaning, so I don't know what you guys like anymore, so doesn't matter to me, but here we go. First thing I want to talk about, something made me feel pretty good the other day. So I'm in the middle of finishing up my next story, Orca's Eye Skylines. And I've got my buddy Jeff who's been looking at it. I've got some colleagues looking at it, Mrs. Baird, Mr. Bacon. So it's nice getting some extra insight into things that could be added to improve it and all of that. And, you know, getting compliments about your writing is a great feeling. When it's something like, love the story, sounds great, you're a good writer, et cetera, those are, you know, great compliments. But there are compliments better than that. And I got one the other day. I didn't tell Mr. Bacon this, but the other day he was reading, there were some formatting things that I changed, and he was checking out how I formatted it and giving me some notes on if it worked or if it didn't work and stuff. And there's a particular part that I changed right before a certain new formatting plan happens. And the way that I wrote it was just kind of like a placeholder, you know, like this is a sentence to remind myself what this new part is. By no means is this a final version of that sentence. And Mr. Bacon saw that and he told me, hey, this isn't the final version of this line, right? Like you're going to add more to it or something like that. And the way he said it was something like, this doesn't sound like a Mr. Norris thing or description. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the best compliment that you can get as a writer. Well, so in case you're confused by what I mean, he noticed that I have a certain style. And that has been one of my biggest kind of, not fears, but just kind of wonderings. Like, is there a particular voice that I have when I write? Is there a particular style? I didn't know if I had one or not. And when he said that, it made me feel good. It made me feel like, okay, I do have a particular way of going about things with my writing. And that is the highest compliment that you can get as a writer, in my opinion. I always try to tell my students, you know, I want you to have your own voice when you write your essays, when you do your creative things, because I like reading your work and knowing this sounds like Jeff, this sounds like Sarah, or whoever. When writing becomes too structured and too formulaic, it just gets boring for anybody, for teachers, for people that love to just read for leisure. It's annoying. So establish a voice for yourself, make your writing interesting. But it felt good. So thank you, Mr. Bacon, wherever you are. All right. First thing I want to talk about today, I discovered something new. Us tall folk, there's some things that happen in life that make you feel better as a tall person. For instance, t-shirt sizes. Sometimes I'll luck out and a medium shirt will work, okay? But more often than not, medium shirts are too short. They'll fit great up here, but my midriff is showing if I am trying to reach for something up on the top shelf, you know? And that's not going to cut it as a medium t-shirt. Then large t-shirts will work lengthwise, but it feels like I'm wearing a hot air balloon. So there's got to be some kind of middle ground here for tall people and t-shirts. I've always said that there should be an extra medium. Like, why does that size not exist? But I found something the other day that actually kind of works. It's simply a long fit t-shirt. I did not know that these existed. And they don't fit like, they're just literally longer shirts. They're not bigger by any means. They're just extended. So I tried on a medium long fit shirt. And guys, I might as well have discovered heaven. because it is the most perfect thing that I've ever experienced as a tall individual. No longer am I fearful when I reach up at the top shelf of my midriff showing. No longer am I fearful of this balloony thing around my body. Medium, long fit shirts. It's where it's at, guys. So anybody tall that's listening, you're welcome. Check it out. They're amazing. Picked up a black one, a dark gray one, and a tan one. So I'm excited for summertime to start showing those bad boys off. Got my V8 Energy Black Cherry here. It's currently day 17 of my 90-day diet. Guys, almost had a setback the other day. Yesterday, I was at Target getting some groceries. And I went down the cookie aisle. Mistake number one. Never go down the cookie aisle on a diet. But it drew me in. I saw a package of Oreos. It's like fudge-dipped mint Oreos. Package was beautiful. They looked so delicious. I sat there with my cart, just staring at this package of fudge-dipped Oreos for a good 5 minutes. I picked them up, I put them down. Picked them back up, turned it around to read the back, I put them down. I picked them up again, I put them in the cart. And I started to move forward. I said, I've been good. 17 days with nothing. I'm good. I deserve this. Then I stopped in the aisle. I said, you know what? No, I don't. I don't deserve this. Is this called the 17-day challenge? No. It's called the 90-day challenge. And I backed up. And all kinds of things went through my head. I saw Mr. Bacon's face. I saw my dad's face. I saw disappointment in both of their eyes. So what I do, I took that bag and I put it back. And guys, I have never felt better about myself. So take the feeling of seeing your newborn child. Take the feeling of putting down a bag of fudge-dipped Oreos on day 17 of your 90-day diet. Same exact feeling. Guaranteed. So don't fight with me on that. But the good news is I'm feeling the effects now of the 90-day diet. You know, like the first 14 days or so, it feels like you're kind of wasting your time. You don't see any progress. You feel terrible because you want to eat all the good stuff, right? But now I'm past that point where it's starting to get easy to say no to things. It's starting to get easy to turn down the pizza, turn down the chocolate, turn down this and this and this. And I'm going to bed more easily. I'm waking up feeling more refreshed. And the other important thing, if you're on a diet, don't constantly look at the scale. I'm trying to make sure that I only do it once a week. If you're doing it daily, it's just not good for the whole encouragement side of it. You know, make yourself wait for the whole scale thing. And, you know, as much as it is about wanting to lose weight and all that, it's more just about feeling better. And thankfully, that's where I'm at now. So it's been a good time. Mr. Bacon told me about an app or a website called MyFitnessPal. I highly recommend it. It's where you log in all of your food intake and exercise and water intake. And you give yourself a goal for how much weight you want to lose. And every day you just log in what you want to, what food you eat, and then it tells you how many calories you've got left that you can allow yourself for the day. It really helps with staying disciplined. So, MyFitnessPal, check it out. So, 9 minutes in, haven't talked about anything in regard to teaching, but you know what? This is my life. Like I say every episode, this is the life of an English teacher. Now, is an English teacher's life always going to be English? No. If it is, super sad. But I got other stuff going on, guys. I got long fit t-shirts going on. I got avoiding fudge-dipped Oreos going on. There's a lot of excitement. But let's segue now to some teacher stuff. So, found this pretty funny. I've talked about PLCs before, professional learning communities. That is the group of teachers that you work with on a daily basis. And it's usually defined by the discipline. So our PLC, WorldLit PLC, is the sophomore English teachers. So that's myself, Mr. Bacon, Mrs. Baird, Mr. Stocks, and Mr. Williams. So Mr. Bacon is our PLC leader, and last week he went to a PLC leader meeting, and he got this paper here. There's 4 different quadrants. I know you can't read that from here, but basically there are different sections here with different feelings, different adjectives to describe the overall aura of what your PLC meetings might be like. And they go as nice, as helpful and joyful and confident, to as negative, as hopeless, defeated, burned out, exhausted. And it's just kind of like assessing where you are at as a PLC. Now look, I get the intent behind this. It's all good. It's meant to figure out where you are and how to move forward to improve it. Understandable. But at the same time, we're all human beings, and there are some things that you could do that you don't need something like this to tell you how to fix it. I'm going to tell you how to fix it right now. And this isn't just PLCs. This is anybody that has to interact with other people at work. If there's tension and if it's awkward and you just don't work well together, this is how you do it. Get out of work together. What I mean by that is, the first time Mr. Bacon and I started talking about teacher stuff, we met in my room and we did BITSA, which is like the beginning teacher thing and all that. But when we really started to learn how well we work with one another, we played Nintendo 64 together. That is how you figure out a relationship at work. You do stuff outside of work with the people. It's kind of like when actors are about to do a movie, they got to dedicate themselves to a year, sometimes 2 years, to working on a film with other actors and a particular director every single day. Most of the time, these actors decide, hey, let's go out to dinner. Let's go out for a weekend together and just hang out and figure out what kind of people we are. That's what you got to do. To really figure out how to mesh well together, get out of the work zone and go do something where you're just being people. I mean, I don't just talk with my PLC members at work. I mean, we're going to movies together, we're going to eat together, we're going to shows together, we go to parties together. I mean, we do everything, and we also work. Guaranteed, if we didn't do those outside things together, our interaction during PLC might not be as hopeful as it is, or confident, or connected as it is. We might be somewhere over here where it's more anxious, defensive, right? But thankfully, because of the relationships we formed outside of the classroom, we're more over here in the high positive area. So that's what I recommend, okay? Don't figure it out at work. Figure it out outside of work together. Dedicate yourself to your colleagues, because nothing's worse. I mean, I don't have this experience, thankfully, but I'd imagine that nothing is worse than going to work and not liking the people that you have to talk to every day. I can imagine that sucks. So, go grab some dinner or do what Mr. Bacon and I did. Go hook up a Nintendo 64 and play GoldenEye with each other and figure it out then. So that's my recommendation, but I get the intent behind it, like I said. Here's something I want to talk about here. My student teacher had a rough day the other day, and that's going to happen. Student teachers have rough days. Veteran teachers have rough days. I don't think I talk much about what I do in terms of discipline on here that much. Bottom line is, I don't have to resort to much discipline at all, thankfully. And that's always something that I worried about going into teaching, was like, oh my gosh, like what happens when a kid is being disrespectful to me? What happens when a kid refuses to do work and is being defiant? I hate confrontation. I don't know how I'm going to deal with that. I always had that fear going into teaching. But what I found was, and as kind of cliche and corny as it might be, like, you gotta be friends with your students on a certain level. You just gotta be a person to them. Like this whole credential program approach of you're only the authority and don't smile until November or whatever crap they teach is garbage. Don't listen to that. The more authoritarian you are, the more standoffish and just follow my rules you are, the less you're going to have in terms of relationships with your students. And when you have those relationships, that's where the discipline problems go away. So my student teacher ran into this dilemma where she felt like she was being disrespected by the students. And we had a talk. I told her, you could go this discipline route and start handing out detentions and referrals and calling security and all that. Or you could do the harder thing and give a speech. Tell your kids, I'm feeling disrespected. I'm not happy right now. I want a positive environment in here. We got to communicate better, et cetera, et cetera. And it made me proud because she gave this speech. And guess what, guys? It worked. She said after she gave that speech, the kids were quiet, started to get to work. They finished the work, and now we're on day 2 after that speech. And once again today, she said they came in, got to work. It wasn't disruptive. So there's a certain magic involved with having the students see you as not just a teacher, but a human being that is there to help them. So many teachers come off as just this dictator-like person, and that's not the way you're going to create success. 7 years in, guys, I have never had to call security on kids that needed to be escorted from my room. I've gotten close about 2 or 3 times, but thankfully I've never had to resort to that, and hopefully I never have to. So I'm doing something right in that area. But the more real talk you have with them, the better it's going to be. Guys, I was never grounded when I was a kid. What I got instead, my dad would come into my room and he'd sit me down and he'd say, you know what, son? You really disappointed your mother with what you said. And then he'd leave. And I would just sit in my room so bummed out for like an hour, just thinking about, oh my gosh, how did I do this? And that was way more effective than give me your Game Boy and sit in the corner for 5 minutes and don't talk. You know, no one's going to learn from that, right? So some food for thought there. Be upfront with your students. Be honest. Be genuine. You're going to get some good results. I guarantee it. What do you think, Billy Shakes? Is that good advice or what? Yeah, he's just shy. He doesn't want to say anything. Big announcement here for the YouTube channel. Am I too loud? We're good? Am I peaking? I think we're good. What was I going to say? Big announcement. So on this channel, not only do I do this podcast, but I do audiobooks. And I've been making audiobooks by myself and with my colleagues for all of the stories that we do in our curriculum. And there's one left that I haven't done yet. And I've been hesitant to do it because it's like it's a respect thing. The book is Night. And if you're unfamiliar with that book, it's written by Elie Wiesel, and he was a Holocaust survivor, and the whole story details his experience in the Holocaust. So I think you can understand why I would be kind of standoffish with doing that. Because if you haven't listened to my audiobooks, there's music, there's sound effects, there's voices, it comes to life. And I feel like weird going into Night and putting music and sound effects. I feel like I'm crossing a line there. But I came to the realization that it could be a good thing if I just let the words speak for themselves. So I think that's the approach I'm going to take. So I am going to make a Night audiobook, but no music, no sound effects. I'm just going to read the words for what they are because they are more than enough, and just going to leave it at that. So I'm going to get to recording that probably within the next month. I'm excited. So that's what's coming new as far as audiobooks go. Lord of the Flies is about to cross 70,000 views. Wow. Thank you to anybody who has used Lord of the Flies in their classroom, who has used it as a student, or who's just used it as, reading the story by themselves. That was really fun to make, and I never expected it to get this big this fast, but it's pretty cool. So thank you to everybody who's checked that out. Next, this is kind of an obvious thing, but I think it's important to say. It's important to be competent at your job. Now, when it comes to teaching, especially those coming into the job, looking at the curriculum, and there's going to be times where English teachers come into a teaching position and they look at the stories they have to teach, and maybe they haven't read some of these stories, and that's a challenge. My very first novel that I ever taught was Tale of Two Cities. That was scary as hell, you guys, because Tale of Two Cities is written by Charles Dickens, and this guy wrote to make money by the word. So he did not hold back with length and complexity. So that was scary to tackle A Tale of Two Cities as my very first novel that I taught, and I've never read it before. Thankfully, it was an honors class that I did it with. That made things a little easier. But I feel your pain if you're in that position right now. So my suggestion is, the first year, just get through the text as best as you can. You're not going to be an expert on it by any means the first go around. But the more you do it, 7 years in now, like I finally, for the first time, really feel like I've got a grasp on all of these characters in Julius Caesar. I finally feel like I know Jack and Ralph and all of these characters in Lord of the Flies. Like, it just takes time to really dive in more and more year after year. So as long as you have that desire to keep learning more and more about the stuff that you teach, you're going to be fine. And a lot of teachers worry about students calling them out on not knowing certain things. And that happens, but don't get angry when that happens. Don't try to hide behind this facade of, you don't know anything, you're 16 years old, I know everything. Don't do that. You're just going to lose them. Instead, be like, oh, that's interesting. I want to learn more about that. And after class is over, like, look it up yourself, whatever the kid said, and then the next day you can talk about it with that kid or the entire class, and it's a learning experience for everybody. So if a kid calls you out on something, don't get mad. Just say, oh, nice, and I never knew that, and just go from there. Could be a good thing. One of the things that I experienced as a student teacher, and with English, this definitely lends itself for sure, but I'll never forget. We were reading the Scarlet Ibis, I think, and I can't remember what the question was that I asked, but I was being observed this day by my supervisor, and it was a question that lent itself to interpretation. And when I put the question out there, one girl answered, and she was super confident with her answer, but it didn't match my interpretation. And I was just straight up like, nope, next. And I just totally shut her down without exploring her answer. Now, guess what? That kid is never going to raise her hand ever again in class. And to be honest, I don't think she did the rest of the semester. So my supervisor pulled me aside and was like, you know what? Her answer wasn't wrong. It could have stemmed from her belief of this with this character, et cetera, et cetera. And I just kind of felt terrible and was like, yeah, you know what? That was wrong. So don't shut down a kid completely. Give them a chance to back themselves up or to just kind of learn from them. There's a bottom line there. And you'll get there. You'll get there. So I'm at 25 minutes. I'm going to conclude with this today. Something that I think would be really cool. I know I've been tossing around the idea of a guest, and then every time I say that, I say never going to have a guest because it's my show, which is the truth. And if I ever have a guest, I want someone that's really going to teach us something. That I still have on the back burner. Not sure what I'm going to do with that. But I have a pretty cool idea, I think, that I want to bring into the show. I realized the other day, like, I don't have, segments. Like, I don't have like let's do a top 10 most, I don't know, like I don't have things like that. I just talk for 30 minutes and then that's it. I'd like to include more structural segments of things. So first, that's my first thought. I'm going to think about what I can include there. But what do you guys think about this? Episode 20 is coming up. I want to do something special. What do you think of a day in the life kind of montage? Meaning episode 20 wouldn't be a podcast like this. It would be more so here is really the life of an English teacher for a day, showing you what I do throughout the entire day, rather than just sitting here talking about it. Or maybe like a collection of stuff throughout the week. And it could be like an hour-long special or something for episode 20. That's what I'm thinking I might try to do in the next couple of weeks. So I'll toss around that idea and see what we can do, see what we can come up with. Other than that, I've got one last agenda item here, but I got like 4 minutes left, so I don't want to get into it yet. I'll save it for next week. But that was a good one, guys. I'm feeling happy, feeling energetic. Last time I was super hot because the heater was on, but listen, no heater. It's brilliant. It's a beautiful thing, isn't it? So don't have to worry about that anytime soon. It's going to be 70 degrees on Sunday. That's weird. It's February next week. Okay, I'm done. 27 minutes, that'll work. Guys, I'll see you next week. Thanks for tuning in. I hope if you're listening to this in the car, drive safe. If you're listening to this at home, just be safe. And if you're 6'3" like me and you're I got to find the right shirt. Long fit shirts, man. Life-changing. All right. Thank you very much, guys. Have a great day. Have a great weekend. I'll see you next week. Good night.